This is Uday. In this video, we try to understand the COALESCE and ISNULL functions from SQL Server. As both these functions are used to handle null values, we usually get confused with the behaviors of these functions. And this is also one of the most frequently asked questions in SQL interviews. So let's try to find out what exactly these functions are and what are the differences between these two functions. So let's see the definitions of these functions first. Coming to the COALESCE function, the SQL Server COALESCE function is used to handle null values. The null values are replaced with user given value during the evaluation process. The COALESCE function evaluates the expression in a definite order and always results first non-null value from defined expression list. This function accepts two or more than two parameters. So the COALESCE function retrieves the first non-null values from the list of expressions that we defined. Coming to ISNULL function, the SQL Server ISNULL function is used to find the given value in case the expression given is null. This function accepts two parameters, namely expression and a value. So the isNull function retrieves the value if the given expression is null. So let's see the syntax for these two functions. As COALESCE accepts two or more than two parameters, the syntax for SQL COALESCE function is the name COALESCE followed by open bracket and then the variables or expression that we are trying to put in comma separated and then close bracket. Similarly for isNull function, as we have two parameters, expression and value. These two can be put in the comma separated and then close bracket. So let's try to evaluate or explore more these two functions using SQL queries. So here I have a table employees. Let's try to find out what exactly the table contains using select star from employees. So in this table I have employee ID, last name, first name, middle name, and then the salary columns. So if we see, there are multiple rows for every column which has null values. So similarly, last name has null value at row number 2, at row number 4. First name has null value at row number 1, 3, and 4, and so on. So let's try to find out the values or try to fetch the values from this table. I'll try to fetch the first column. Select last name from employees. Here we see row number 2 and 4 are nulls. As in the table, the values for last name at row number 2 and row number 4 are nulls. It is displaying the null values. Now, if I want to give a valid name to these columns or rows, I'll try to find out an approach where I can replace this null value with the valid names. Like I have a first name. If my last name is null, I also have a first name or middle name for this employee. So how can I retrieve that? Select is null, last name, comma, first name, bracket close, from employees. I would also retrieve the last name column separately. So here, let's give a alias name to this column as actual name. Here we can see the row number 2 had null values in the last name, but by using isNull function, this null value at last name is being replaced by first name. So my first name has Peter at row number 2. It retrieved the value for the last name column and displayed as the desired output. But we can also see that both my last name and first name has null at row number 4, since both these values are fetching as null values. How can we solve this? We can have an option of select star from, or can try giving a middle name. Since row number 4 has value in the middle name column, we try to fetch record through that middle name. But if we try using that from the isNull function, we get error, as isNull accepts only 2 arguments. So how can we achieve that? So we can do that by using COALESCE function. So let's try finding out. Select COALESCE. I will give last name, first name, and middle name as actual name. Let's also try to find all these values in other columns. Okay. So here we see so about the first and other rows, third row and fifth row, we are fine that first column has non-null value and it tries to retrieve the first column itself. But whereas we can see row number 2 has null in the first column, it retrieves the data from the second column, that is first name, and the name is being displayed as Peter. So for column 4, when we try to retrieve it using isNull function, we saw that both the fields has null values and it displayed the null value itself. But using COALESCE function, when we provided middle name as well, it tried to retrieve the data from middle name column, which has Tony. So the COALESCE function, what it does is like it is retrieving the data from first non-null value to the desired output. Similarly, we can provide any other name like the column. If the variable or the expression is null, we can give any other desired output that we want, or any field. Like wherever I have null, if I want to retrieve the data as no name or something like that, I can do that using let's say now last name. Then if I give no name, so wherever I have null values, it will replace with no name using isNull or in the COALESCE as well. So these are the basic difference between ISNULL and COALESCE function, where using ISNULL we can only try to fetch the data for one column, and when it gets null we can give one desired value for that null value. And for the COALESCE we can give a list of expressions where the COALESCE function retrieves first non-null value from those list of expressions. So this is the basic difference between COALESCE and ISNULL functions. Thank you.